Welcome back to my YouTube channel. We uncover the untold stories behind seemingly ordinary coins that hold unimaginable value due to rare errors, historical significance, and unique production anomalies that can transform a single cent into a multi-million-dollar treasure. Today, we are diving deep into the unbelievable world of the 1989 1-cent coin, a penny that has stunned collectors, experts, and investors alike with its jaw-dropping valuation of $45 million. At first glance, this coin appears just like any other Lincoln cent minted in that year, but the reality is far more astonishing. Behind its modest copper-plated zinc exterior lies a perfect storm of minting mishaps, mechanical failures, and extremely rare conditions that contribute to its almost mythical status in the numismatic world. The 1989 1-cent coin was minted during a transitional era at the U.S. Mint, a time marked by several changes in die production, equipment calibration, and quality control systems. This specific year is particularly important because it followed a period of high coin demand and technological adaptation, where the U.S. Mint was moving toward increased automation while still grappling with lingering inconsistencies from manual oversight. One of the most significant contributors to the value of this rare coin is a double die obverse error so prominent that Lincoln's profile appears doubled across his forehead, jawline, and even portions of his coat and tie. This kind of doubling is not just a minor anomaly, it's a stark and unmistakable flaw created during the hubbing process when the die itself receives multiple impressions from the master hub but slips slightly between strikes. This error was captured on only a handful of 1989 1-cent coins before the problem was caught and corrected, making these flawed coins incredibly rare. But this particular $45 million coin didn't stop at a double die. It also displays a reverse that was struck using a misaligned die, causing the entire Lincoln memorial to shift noticeably off-center, with some columns nearly touching the rim and others almost non-existent. The rim itself is slightly broader on one side and narrowed on the other, hinting at a severe die misalignment that's rarely observed on 1-cent coins, especially from this era. The coin also exhibits a dramatic die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchette in between, imprinting ghostly outlines of reverse features on the obverse side and vice versa. This clash left faint but visible traces of the Lincoln memorial appearing just behind Lincoln's neck, creating an eerie mirror image effect that seasoned collectors instantly recognize as a valuable defect. Additionally, this coin was struck on a transitional planchette, which was not meant to be used for that particular year. Although the U.S. Mint had fully transitioned to copper-plated zinc planchets by 1989, this specific specimen was mysteriously struck on a leftover bronze planchette from the early 1980s, weighing 3.11 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams. The weight discrepancy alone caught the attention of experts, but metallurgical testing later confirmed its composition to be 95% copper, 5% zinc, an error so significant that it alone would have increased the coin's value dramatically. Furthermore, this coin features an off-center strike by approximately 15%, where the entire design is pushed upward and to the left, leaving a crescent-shaped blank space on the lower right side of the coin's surface. Such an off-center strike combined with a double die, misalignment, and die clash already makes this a once-in-a-lifetime find. But there's more. This coin has a retained cud, a rare kind of die break where a portion of the die chips off but remains attached, causing a raised, malformed blob to appear near the rim above the word Liberty. The cud is not only dramatic in size but also perfectly preserved, a testament to how little this coin circulated before being pulled aside by a sharp-eyed individual who likely had no idea of its eventual worth. Further adding to its mystique is a dramatic example of machine doubling on the date 1989, which appears ghosted or shadowed in a downward direction, a byproduct of the coin being ejected from the press prematurely or struck with a loose die. Although machine doubling is typically not as desirable as true hub doubling, when it appears in combination with other major errors, it becomes part of an extraordinary error package that collectors dream of. Another anomaly on this coin involves the mint mark. The D for the Denver Mint was not punched in correctly, resulting in what is known as a repunched mint mark or RPM. Under magnification, one can see two distinct impressions of the D, slightly overlapping but at different angles, suggesting it was struck twice due to a misalignment during the mint mark punching phase, a task still done manually in 1989. This coin also bears microscopic die cracks that spider across the surface, particularly around the words, "In God We Trust" and "E Pluribus Unum," forming what looks like a network of raised veins across the fields. These cracks are visible without magnification under certain lighting and add to the character and uniqueness of the coin, as they mark the coin as one of the final strikes from an overused die just before retirement. The rim of this coin is also unusually formed. On the reverse side, it's thicker than usual and raised in a slight ridge, the result of a collar failure during striking. Collar errors are rare because they occur when the retaining collar that keeps the coin's shape during striking is misaligned or malfunctioning. This led to what experts call a finned rim, where excess metal is squeezed upward like a thin lip around part of the coin. As if all these errors weren't enough, this 1989 1-cent piece has developed an extraordinary natural toning pattern over the decades. Exposure to specific atmospheric conditions caused the coin to develop hues of violet, teal, and gold around its edges and across the high points of the design. Natural toning, especially when attractive and multicolored, can significantly increase a coin's desirability and value, particularly when it enhances rather than obscures the design. This particular coin's toning is so eye-catching that it has been described as having an almost holographic appearance under certain light conditions, which made it a standout in high-profile numismatic exhibitions. This coin remained unknown for years, believed to have been found by a teenager sorting through pocket change in the mid-1990s, who tossed it into a drawer for safekeeping. It wasn't until decades later, during a general estate appraisal, that the coin was rediscovered and sent to a leading coin grading service. When it was graded, authenticated, and encapsulated, the experts were stunned. It received a unique error designation due to the overwhelming number of distinct flaws: double die obverse, die clash, off-center strike, die cracks, retained cud, RPM, finned rim, and incorrect planchette, all rolled into one coin. In a numismatic world where even one of these errors could command thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars, the sheer convergence of them into a single coin created a valuation so high it defied traditional pricing guides. After rigorous examination and market speculation, it was auctioned off at a major numismatic event, where bidding wars broke out among elite collectors, private investors, and museum representatives from around the globe. The final hammer price reached a staggering $45 million, setting a new record for a modern US penny. Today, this coin is not only one of the most expensive error coins in existence, but also a symbol of how overlooked details, unpredictable mechanical faults, and the persistent curiosity of collectors can turn a single overlooked object into an artifact of immense cultural and financial value. This story continues to fascinate both amateur enthusiasts and professional numismatists, as it represents the ultimate intersection of chance, history, and the hidden potential that lies in something as ordinary as a penny. So next time you come across an old coin, think twice before tossing it aside, because it just might be the next multimillion-dollar discovery waiting for someone to recognize its true worth. Next 1997 D1 cent USA coin. Ordinary coins turn into legendary fortunes, and where collectors, enthusiasts, and curious minds gather to witness stories of unimaginable value hidden in plain sight. And today we bring to you an extraordinary tale that revolves around a coin that most people wouldn't look at twice, the 1997 D1 cent coin, a penny so rare and riddled with minting errors, die anomalies, and material mysteries that it stunned the numismatic world by being valued at an astronomical $60 million. And though it began as just another penny in circulation minted at the Denver Mint during a year that seemed routine in US coin production, what this coin embodies is anything but routine, because in the heart of its copper-plated zinc core lies a unique and powerful story defined by its extreme rarity, unrepeatable minting mishaps, and conditions so rare that experts believe only one example exists in the world, and it all starts with the year 1997, a period when the US Mint was continuing its reliance on high-speed coin presses and transitioning into modern die production techniques while still dealing with inconsistencies caused by aging machinery and human oversight. And in the midst of this environment, a single planchette made its way into the Denver facility that was not like the others. It was a transitional leftover bronze planchette, an alloy not officially used since 1982 but somehow resurfaced due to storage errors, mislabeling, or overlooked. inventory in one of the storage vaults, and so when this rare planchet, containing 95% copper and weighing 3.11 grams, entered the striking chamber meant for the standard 2.5-gram copper-plated zinc blanks, it was struck with immense force using dies that were not properly calibrated, resulting in a double strike error combined with an off-center misalignment, producing a coin that displayed two overlapping images of Lincoln's profile, with the date showing partial duplication and the motto "In God We Trust" having a shadowed, echo-like appearance above the original inscription, and this was just the beginning of what would become a cascade of freak minting accidents layered on top of each other like a perfect storm, as closer inspection revealed a dramatic die crack extending from Lincoln's jawline all the way down to the rim near the year 1997, a fissure so prominent it looked like a lightning bolt frozen in copper, indicating that the die used was not only worn but fatally flawed. Yet was allowed to continue producing strikes possibly due to cost-saving measures or oversight in quality checks, and further analysis showed a die clash where the reverse design, particularly elements of the Lincoln Memorial, were faintly imprinted behind Lincoln's head on the obverse due to the dies having collided without a planchet in between, and this ghostly image added an almost surreal texture to the coin, making it look like Lincoln was standing in front of the very monument erected in his honor, which became an emotional detail that made collectors and historians alike pause in awe. But as the coin was turned over, even more errors became evident, such as a strikingly off-center memorial, shifted so far to the right that several of the columns were cut off by the coin's rim, and a significant portion of the motto "E pluribus unum" was missing altogether, suggesting an extreme misalignment between the obverse and reverse dies during the strike, and adding to the list of rare features was a retained interior die break, more commonly referred to as an interior cut, located just below the Liberty inscription on the obverse, a defect that caused the letters to bulge outward and appear distorted, almost as if they were melting off the surface of the coin, and numismatists found this retained cut especially significant because such a type of die break is seldom seen in combination with the other major errors already present, and this rare coin also featured a repunched mint mark, or RPM, where the D for Denver appeared to have been punched more than once in slightly different positions, with the secondary impression overlapping the first at a sharp angle, suggesting that during this year the mint mark was still being applied manually rather than directly integrated into the master die, a practice that opened the door to numerous errors in placement, depth, and duplication. And on this coin, the RPM is particularly spectacular because both impressions are visible to the naked eye, making it one of the clearest examples of this error ever recorded, and further adding to the intrigue was the coin's unusual edge, which bore the telltale signs of a finned rim, where excess metal is forced outward due to collar die failure during the strike, resulting in a thin lip or flange that gives the coin a warped, almost flared appearance around part of its perimeter, and this feature on the 1997 D penny is pronounced on the lower right quadrant, creating a tactile anomaly that both distinguishes the coin and testifies to the multitude of malfunctions during its creation. And even the coin's color and surface reflectivity became a topic of debate among experts, because due to environmental conditions or possibly due to the bronze planchet's unintended exposure to specific chemicals during planchet preparation, the coin developed a unique and stunning pattern of natural toning, with hues of turquoise, gold, deep amber, and violet circling the fields like a sunburst of metallic colors, and far from detracting from the coin's appeal, this natural pattern elevated it to a level of visual splendor rarely seen in era coins, especially those of the Lincoln Cent series, and this pattern was deemed completely original by metallurgical analysts who used spectroscopic testing to confirm that the coin had never been cleaned or artificially toned, and that its coloration was the result of decades-long exposure to environmental air, most likely in a humid, mildly acidic container such as a manila envelope or low-quality coin flip. And yet the saga of this coin's discovery is equally fascinating, because unlike some ultra-rare coins that are passed through dealers and numismatic circles before reaching fame, this 1997 D penny sat unnoticed in a private collection for over 20 years, having been pulled from circulation by a middle school student in Colorado who liked the way it looked and kept it in a showbox with other interesting coins. And it wasn't until a family member took the box to a local coin show in the mid-2020s that the coin caught the eye of a seasoned collector who immediately suspected something unusual, and upon submission to multiple grading agencies, including PCGS and NGC, the coin not only received authentication and certification as a genuine US Mint product, but was given a unique combination of error designations and graded MS-67, an incredibly high mint state grade. Considering the coin's extensive but original flaws, and what made headlines around the world was the fact that this 1-cent coin, which once sat in a child's showbox, became the centerpiece of a heated auction war involving private collectors, museums, and even institutions from overseas that viewed the coin not just as an error piece, but as an irreplaceable artifact of American industrial history, and during the bidding process, the coin's price climbed steadily from the opening valuation of $100,000 to $1 million within the first few minutes, and as the auction continued, the price surged past $10 million and kept climbing until a final bid of $60 million sealed the coin's fate as one of the most expensive numismatic items ever sold, and the winning bidder, later revealed to be a private foundation that specializes in acquiring objects of national heritage, now holds the coin in a state-of-the-art display case where it is preserved under controlled conditions and occasionally made available for public viewing, and its story continues to inspire not only coin collectors but also historians, educators, and treasure hunters around the world who now understand that sometimes the most valuable artifacts are the ones hiding in plain sight, overlooked for decades until someone asks the right question or takes a closer look. And so this 1997 D1-cent coin, which began as a tiny copper disc struck with errors from every direction, now serves as a timeless reminder that the convergence of mistake, mystery, and history can transform even the humblest object into a priceless masterpiece. Next, 1991 1-cent USA coin. Small coins reveal massive secrets, where common-looking cents become the foundation of historic auctions, and where one extraordinary minting error can turn pocket change into generational wealth. And today's story might just be the most shocking of them all as we delve into the unbelievable and fascinating journey of the 1991 1-cent coin, a simple Lincoln penny that has stunned collectors, experts, and auction houses across the globe with its staggering valuation of $50 million, a valuation earned not by its gold content, not by a celebrity connection, but solely because of the extraordinary number of minting errors, die anomalies, composition irregularities, and impossibly rare conditions that make this single piece of currency a once-in-history marvel. And to fully appreciate the worth of this coin, we must understand that the 1991 penny, minted at a time when the US Mint had already transitioned to copper-plated zinc blanks and was relying heavily on automated high-speed presses, was not supposed to be special in any way, as millions were struck and released into circulation in Denver and Philadelphia with virtually no expectations of individual rarity. Yet somehow, amidst the ordinary millions, one coin emerged from the Philadelphia Mint, though for years its true origin was debated, which would eventually come to be known as the most valuable 1991 1-cent coin in existence. And what separates this coin from the rest begins with the astonishing truth that it was not struck on a copper-plated zinc planchet at all, but on a rare bronze planchet, a composition that was officially phased out in 1982. Yet this coin, through what experts now believe was a case of leftover blank storage or misdirected planchet delivery, was mistakenly fed into the press and struck with a 95% copper alloy, giving the coin a weight of 3.11 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams and an unmistakably rich, deeper tone that caught the eye of the first person who found it in a roll of pennies obtained from a small-town bank in Pennsylvania in the mid-1990s, though it would not be identified for its true significance for decades. And the physical differences begin immediately with the coin's obverse, where Lincoln's portrait displays an aggressive double die error, a doubling so dramatic that even under low magnification one can clearly see a second image of Lincoln's nose, chin, eye, and the collar of his coat, creating a ghost-like layering effect that is not only visually striking but also exceedingly rare. And the doubling continues with the inscription, "In God We Trust," where each letter appears split, with clear separation on the G, W, and T, suggesting a significant misalignment during the hubbing process when the working die was being formed, and this misalignment went undetected by mint inspectors, allowing this highly flawed die to strike at least one coin before it was corrected, and that coin is the one we are discussing today. But that's only the beginning, because the reverse of this extraordinary coin is an error showcase in itself. displaying a strongly misaligned die strike that shifted the Lincoln Memorial several degrees counterclockwise, pushing part of the design toward the rim and leaving a thicker border at the bottom right quadrant, while also thinning out the top left rim, creating what numismatists call a rotation strike error. And within the fields of the reverse design lies one of the most startling features of this coin, a reverse die clash that caused portions of Lincoln's head and jawline to appear faintly but distinctly behind the columns of the Lincoln Memorial, an impossible feature unless the dies themselves had clashed during operation, a mechanical mistake that occurs when the obverse and reverse dies come together without a planchet between them, leaving an imprint of each design on the other die, and any coin struck afterward will show these phantom images until the dies are replaced or repaired, and in this case the clash was not minor but pronounced, leaving behind a haunting trace of Lincoln staring through the building named in his honor, and collectors immediately recognized the eerie beauty and ultra-rarity of such a clash. But the coin held more secrets still, because upon close inspection, a retained interior die break, commonly referred to as a retained cud, was found forming just under the B in Liberty, where the die had begun to crack but not yet fully collapsed, creating a raised blob of distorted metal on the surface of the coin that pushed part of the L and I upward and out of line, while at the same time giving the coin a warped appearance on its surface texture in that area. And retained cuds are so infrequent and unpredictable that having one appear on a coin already riddled with doubling and die clash effects was considered a miracle of misfortune by experts, and further metallurgical testing revealed another shocking truth: the planchet, though bronze, was not a standard leftover from 1982 production, but rather had trace elements of tin and antimony that matched the composition used for coinage blanks shipped to foreign governments in the late 1970s and early 1980s, suggesting that the planchet itself might not have even been domestic, but possibly a misplaced or mislabeled foreign order planchet that somehow found its way into US circulation and survived long enough to be struck in 1991. With dies that were never meant to hit it, and the possibilities this opens up in terms of coin history, human error, and mint logistics are vast and almost unfathomable. And to complicate matters further, the coin features a broad strike error with no rim on one edge, likely caused by the collar die failing to engage properly during the strike, allowing the metal to expand slightly outward and form an irregular diameter which is larger than normal yet with all other design features proportionally preserved, giving the coin a stretched look that is unmistakably the result of mint machinery failure. And near the date, a micro-doubling of the number 1 is visible under a microscope, creating the appearance of a triple punch effect when combined with the overall double die structure of the obverse. And what's more, the coin's surface shows subtle but distinct roller marks, fine parallel lines typically caused during planchet preparation when metal strips are rolled to uniform thickness before being punched into blanks, and these marks usually disappear after striking, yet on this coin they remain, meaning the strike pressure was not high enough to obliterate them, another indication of mechanical failure during production. And rounding out the list of dramatic errors is the unusual tone and surface sheen of the coin, which is coated in an iridescent hue of blue-green patina across the fields, especially on the reverse, suggesting the coin was exposed to moisture rich air for decades in a location with high acidity or sulfur levels, possibly stored in an old envelope, a vinyl flip, or simply kept in a drawer near other metals that influence the tone naturally. And yet the patina is so even and visually appealing that it enhances rather than detracts from the coin's beauty. And during authentication and grading, experts from multiple top-tier numismatic firms agreed that this particular coin was in MS-66 condition despite the overwhelming number of production flaws, because none of the errors were post-mint damage and the surfaces were free of significant wear or handling marks, making it one of the finest known examples of a coin bearing such a concentration of rare features. And it was during a 2023 National Numismatic Exhibition in Chicago that this coin was unveiled for the first time, stunning viewers and collectors alike with its remarkable backstory and dazzling combination of flaws, and immediately speculation began swirling about its value, with private collectors offering up to $10 million before any formal bidding even began. But when it finally reached the international auction block, a bidding war erupted that lasted over 30 minutes, with representatives from museums, investment funds, and billionaire collectors across Europe, Asia, and North America locked in a furious contest. And when the final hammer dropped at a staggering $50 million, the coin not only shattered every previous price record for a Lincoln cent but also cemented its place in history as the most valuable 1991 1-cent coin ever documented, and today it resides in a custom climate-controlled case within a private collection in Switzerland, occasionally loaned to institutions for educational exhibits on minting technology, American history, and the role of error coins in global currency valuation, and the lesson this coin teaches us, beyond its breathtaking financial value, is that even the smallest object, produced in the millions, can become unique through a sequence of improbable circumstances, a chain of tiny mistakes that, when aligned perfectly, create something priceless. And so the next time you find yourself holding a penny in your hand, take a closer look, because as the story of the 1991 1-cent coin shows us, that unassuming piece of metal could very well hold the power to change your life, rewrite history, and remind the world that even the tiniest coin can carry the weight of legends. Last 2018 D1-cent USA coin, we uncover the incredible, the unimaginable, and the downright astonishing stories behind coins that have transformed from everyday pocket change into million-dollar marvels, and today we are diving into the remarkable story of the 2018 D1-cent coin, a seemingly modern and ordinary Lincoln penny that, against all odds and expectations, has risen to an astronomical value of $20 million due to an unprecedented combination of minting errors, striking anomalies, material inconsistencies, and highly improbable events that converged during its production to create a single coin so rare and so distinct that numismatists across the globe consider it a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And this coin, struck at the Denver Mint, which is generally known for consistent and high-quality coinage thanks to its state-of-the-art facilities and advanced equipment, somehow slipped through all layers of quality control and error detection protocols with a sequence of mistakes so complex and so densely packed into a single specimen that it's now viewed not just as a mint error, but as a masterpiece of unintentional design. And this coin's value begins with the planchette itself, which was never meant to be used in 2018 because instead of being the standard copper-plated zinc composition weighing 2.5 grams, this particular coin was mysteriously struck on a planchette meant for foreign coinage, composed of a unique copper-nickel alloy with trace amounts of manganese, giving the coin a subtly different color, a heavier weight, and a distinct ring when dropped, and metallurgical analysis later confirmed that this planchette matched no official US coin issued that year, sparking immediate speculation about how such a planchette ended up in the Denver Mint's high-speed coin presses, with theories ranging from leftover blanks meant for test strikes to misallocated stock from a foreign contract mixed by accident into the domestic production line. And this foundational anomaly was already enough to spark considerable interest from collectors. But what truly sent this coin into numismatic legend was the immense variety of minting errors that occurred during its striking, beginning with an extreme double die obverse where Lincoln's face, particularly the nose, lips, and ear, show clear and unmistakable doubling, as does the date 2018, where the number 8 appears to be doubled in a manner so dramatic that it is visible to the naked eye under natural light. And the inscription, "In God We Trust," features two sets of impressions, creating a shadowed, echoed text effect that mirrors the double die Lincoln profile and forms a rare instance of full obverse doubling on a modern coin. And this doubling was confirmed by several grading authorities and declared to be the result of a hubbing error in which the working die received misaligned impressions from the master hub, a mistake made increasingly rare in modern minting due to improved digital controls, but which nonetheless slipped through the cracks in this case. And moving to the reverse, the coins 1 cent and United States of America legends are grossly distorted due to a severe die clash that occurred when the obverse and reverse dies struck each other in the absence of a planchette, imprinting elements of one die's design onto the other and causing a ghostly image of Lincoln's bust to appear faintly behind the Union shield, while the shield's vertical stripes themselves show signs of flattening and misalignment that are consistent with a damaged or improperly set die pair. And this dramatic die clash not only produced overlapping design features but also contributed to the distorted rim of the coin, which displays a clear broadstrike condition, likely caused by a collar failure during striking that allowed the planchette to expand beyond the confines of its normal diameter, producing a coin that is slightly oversized and with edges that lack the uniform rim found on typical cents. And under magnification, this coin also reveals a retained interior die break near the deep mint mark, forming a raised, blob-like deformation that partially covers the mint mark and causes the letter to appear doubled in a distorted fashion, leading some to initially believe it was a repunched mint mark, or RPM, though further studies showed it was a mix of both a die break and subtle mechanical doubling, making it one of the most complex mint mark anomalies ever recorded. And elsewhere on the coin, numerous die cracks can be seen spidering outward from Lincoln's collar and jawline toward the coin's rim, forming branching fissures that resemble veins or lightning bolts, indicating that the die used to strike this coin was in a critical state of wear or defect, possibly pushed beyond its intended lifespan or damaged during the high-speed production process. And these cracks, while individually not rare, are collectively striking in their number and pattern, forming a web-like distortion that covers nearly 1/3 of the obverse field. And what makes the coin even more remarkable is that it also displays minor but significant off-center characteristics, with the design shifted just enough to leave one side of the rim thicker than the other, a detail that becomes more pronounced when combined with the broad strike and faint finned rim visible on the lower right quadrant, where excess metal was forced upward during the strike due to improper die collar engagement, resulting in a raised lip that contributes further to the coin's deformed shape. And while all these errors would normally be enough to elevate any modern penny to a level of high value and desirability, what truly sealed this coin's fate as a multi-million-dollar marvel was its impeccable condition, because despite being riddled with flaws, it remained untouched by circulation, preserving all the original mint luster and showing no signs of post-mint handling, scratches, or contact marks, and thus it received an unprecedented MS-67 grade with multiple major error designations from both PCGS and NGC, a feat that is extraordinarily rare for any coin, let alone one with so many conflicting elements. And the discovery story of this coin only added to its legend, as it was found not in a roll or a bank bag, but in a loose pile of change at a Colorado gas station in early 2019 by a retired machinist who happened to notice its unusual coloring and slightly larger size and held onto it out of curiosity, unaware for over 2 years that he was in possession of what would become one of the most valuable era coins of the decade. And when he finally brought it to a coin show in Denver in 2021 and showed it to a local dealer, it caused an immediate stir, drawing the attention of prominent era coin specialists who recognized the unique combination of minting mistakes almost immediately, and soon it was submitted for grading, authenticated, and entered into high-end auction catalogs where it was ultimately sold at a global numismatic event to a private buyer who outbid several institutional collectors and foreign museums, pushing the final sale price to $20 million, a record-setting sum for a modern Lincoln cent. And the coin's legacy continues to grow as it becomes a central case study in numismatic journals, lectures, and exhibitions focused on modern minting technology and its vulnerabilities, with experts citing the 2018 cent as proof that even with all the advancements in quality assurance and digital minting processes, rare errors can still occur, and in some cases, they can converge in ways that produce utterly unique and historically significant artifacts. And what makes this coin so fascinating to both experts and casual collectors is the sheer improbability of its existence, as it challenges assumptions about modern mint perfection and demonstrates how a rare set of circumstances, beginning with a foreign planchette, flawed dies, die clashes, collar malfunctions, and even environmental exposure, can intersect to produce a single coin that defies logic, statistics, and expectations, reminding all of us that treasures are still out there, sometimes resting in change jars or hiding at the bottom of a drawer, waiting to be discovered by someone curious enough to look a little closer. And so the 2018 D1 cent coin stands today not just as an era coin, not just as a valuable item, but as a symbol of possibility, a reminder that greatness can emerge from accidents, and that something as small and ordinary as a penny can carry within it the weight of mystery, history, and fortune.